Good morning, guys. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you found Textplore beneficial and entertaining so far. In today's session, we're going to be building a terminal chatbot. So it will run on our laptop, but like the main brain lives online. So when the user will input a question, our program will go search for it online on an AI service, and it will bring the answer back to us. So I'll explain in general how the flow of the program will go, and then we'll write it together in details. So the program will start by asking for our API key. So we've explained what an API key is in previous sessions, but in short, it's just a unique identifier that authenticates a user when he's making or interacting with an API. So it's just a way to authenticate you. It's a unique identifier for each user. So after asking for the API, it will allow for the API key, it will allow the user to send a question. So our chatbot today will be a cultural assistant. So it will be focused on historical events, traditions, cultures, etc. But it will not give, for example, mathematical proofs, or it will not be focused on physical sciences. And we'll see the way the code or the chatbot will react if we try to ask something that's not related to culture. So we'll send a question, and then our program will basically convert it to JSON. JSON is just a text format that is pretty human comprehensible, and it's widely used to exchange data between like websites. And so via JSON, our program will send this request via HTTP to the online AI, and this online AI, it will read our question, formulate an answer, and send it back to us. And so the way the code will work is the user will always be able to ask like as many questions as they want until the user types exit. And in this case, the program just terminates, uh, and yeah, that's it basically. So I already defined what JSON is. It's just a text format that we use for structured data. And HTTP is the web's language. So as a program, to be able to communicate with the web or with this online AI, you need a common language, which is HTTP. So the program will send an HTTP request, and he will or it will receive a response back, which includes also a status code. And the status code is just like a short way of saying if the request was successful or not. For example, if the status code is 200, you might have heard the status code before. It means that everything went well. 429, I think it means that too many requests were made at the same time, etc. So each status code indicates whether or not the request was successful, and if it wasn't successful, what the problem or what the issue encountered was. And an API, basically, you've seen this in past sessions, but it's just, if you want, you can take it as a rule book for talking to a service. So it's just a set of rules that you have to abide by when you're talking to this online AI. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Okay. Um, we're going to create a new folder. Now, in my case, I think I've already created one. Yeah. So I'm just gonna open it. If you haven't, just create one and open it. And we're gonna create one file. We're gonna be using only one file in which we'll be building our application. So I'm gonna call it application.py. .py is just the extension, which means that we're gonna write this code in Python. Um, Also, one important thing is make sure that you have the requests module installed, because if not, then you should install it because we're going to use it here. So how do you install it? Basically, you just write in your terminal Python 3 pip install user request. Now here, as you can see, I've already downloaded it, like requirement already satisfied. I'm just showing it in case some of you haven't downloaded it yet. Now, I already created the file in which we're going to be working. And so we're going to start by importing, my bad. Okay. We're going to start by importing a request. So request is basically just a module that speaks HTTP for us, basically. Um, and so we're going to use request to be able to send these HTTP requests and receive HTTP requests from the web. So afterwards, we're going to print a welcome message. So print welcome to the Mistral culture chatbot. So as we said already, this chatbot will be focused on everything related to culture, and it will not be able to answer things related to physical sciences like math or physics or whatever. And afterwards, I'm going to print another statement. Here, it's like a set of instructions, if you want, um, on how this code is going to work or how this application is going to work. So you can type your question and then you press enter um, to send your question basically to the online AI. And then if the code will only terminate if you type exit. So we're going to say or type exit to quit. So to stop this application. Um, Now, the next step is to for the program to retrieve the API key from the user. So I'm going to store it in a variable called API key, and it's going to take an input from the user. So enter your Mistral API key. Now, you've seen in a previous session how to retrieve your API key. So you're just going to enter it, like paste it here. And I'm going to add the function dot strip just to make sure that we remove any hidden spaces and new lines that you could have accidentally put with your or when pasting your API key so that we don't encounter any like errors. Um, okay. And then we're gonna basically we're gonna say what the model that we're gonna use is. So it's basically the AI brain that we're gonna call. So here we're gonna use Mistral Tiny. It's basically the smallest, but it's fast and cheap for demos like this one. But there are other models that you can use for more advanced projects. Now, we're gonna start with the core loop. So we're going to make a while loop because this code is going to keep running forever unless you input exit. So we're going to say while true, meaning that it will always run. And then we're going to add a condition inside the loop. And if this condition is satisfied, we're going to break from this loop. And so the code will terminate. So first of all, I'm going to save the question that the user will be inputting. So when you're on the code, it's going to appear in the output section. It's going to appear to you this string, so you and then 2 points. And after this, you'll be inputting your question basically. Now, if the user inputs exit, so basically question is a variable that stores whatever the user inputs, which is either a question or exit. So if the user inputs exit, then we break from the loop. So if question is equal to exit, then we should terminate the loop. So we should break. And here we're just going to print a goodbye message. So goodbye. Now, in case the user, for instance, accidentally types exit with with E in an uppercase or whatever, we're going to make it case insensitive by adding a dot lower here. So here what this means is that even if the user inputs, for instance, exit like this or exit like this, it's going to be the same and still the code will terminate. Um, so in short, while true means that the code will keep running forever, question is the variable that stores the input of the user. And if you type exit, then we're going to send you a goodbye message and we're going to break this loop. Now, we're going to start by the request body. So as we said, the program is going to send an HTTP request to the online AI service. So this request is divided into two parts, the body and the header. So the body, we're going to name it data. And so it's a dictionary. A dictionary means that it's a type of data structure that has a key and a value. So the key here is just model and messages. So model is the brain that we're using here when you're calling the online AI. So which brain are you going to be using? And it's this Mistral Tiny that we mentioned earlier, which is stored in this variable. So model is simply the value stored in the model variable that we set above. And then messages is just a list of message objects. And so each message has a role and a content. So it's as we said, a list of a message objects. So we're going to create a list. And in this list, each element is a dictionary because it has a role, which is the key and has an associated value to it, and the content, which is the key and also has an associated content with it. So we're going to create two message objects here. Now, the first one, the role is going to be system. I'll explain what that means in a second. Okay, so basically, system means that these are the directions that we're going to give to the chatbot. This is how the chatbot should be behaving. So role means that this message is directed to the chatbot because we put system here. And so the content of the message directed to the chatbot is um, you are a friendly cultural assistant. So here we're telling the chatbot how it should behave, what messages should it accept, what messages should it be able to answer, etc. And the second element of this list is going to be the message of the user that the user is going to be inputting. So what's the role here? It's user uh, because it's the message that is sent for the user. So basically, in the data that we're going to send to the online AI, we're going to have the model and the messages. The model is just the brain that is going to be answering our question, basically. And messages are just a bunch of message objects. In our case, we used two messages. The first one, we use it to communicate with the chatbot itself. We're telling the chatbot how it should behave. And in the second, we're just sending the question that was asked by the user. So here, the role user, it means what the user just asked. And what the content of this message will be the question that was asked by the user that we stored in this variable here. So that's it, basically. One second. Okay. So now we're done with the body of the HTTP request. And afterwards, we're going to move to the headers. So the header of our request. Um, so we're going to name the variable headers, and it's also a dictionary. And it's going to have two keys. The first one is authorization, and the second one is content type. So authorization is just um, a way to show that the user who is asking the question is authorized, and it's basically you're just gonna send your API key because it will show that you are allowed to access this information. So we're gonna type bearer and then um, API underscore key, which is the variable that stores our key. Now, the problem is here we have a string, and inside the string, we're calling a variable from our code. So when we do that, to be able to take this as the variable inside the code and not just a string, we're going to put it between, I don't know what that's called, honestly, but and we're going to place an F before the gaming. Sorry. And so that's it for the authorization part. It's just you're going to be sending the API key, which shows if the user is authorized or authenticated or not. And for the content type, we're simply going to type application slash JSON, meaning that it will tell the server that the body will be sent as JSON, and this is how the server should deal with it. And later, via requests like the library that we imported at first, we're going to be converting these into JSON. So the server can understand them and respond to us. Now we're going to do the HTTP post request. We're going to use HTTP post because when you make a post call, you're sending a request and you're also expecting an answer back. So as we said, you're expecting an answer, you're expecting a response. So this answer, we're going to store it in a response variable. So what you're going to do is you're going to send an HTTP post. And as we said, we're going to send it via request. So request dot post, and we're going to start by just uh, putting in the URL to which the program will go to send this HTTP request to. So it will be in this case api.mistral.ai. Um, okay. And now, as we said, the post request needs to have both a header and a body. So what's the header of this request? It's simply this dictionary that we just made. And what's its body? We're going to call the body here. It's when you send a request, a post HTTP request, the body is referred to as JSON. So the body is simply going to be the data that the data dictionary that we created. And lastly, you also need, oh no, that's it basically. Okay. Um, 1 second, because this will give an error. Okay, we're good. Now, this is our HTTP request that we made. And as we said, the response will be stored in this variable. However, we send the request as a JSON request, and so the response will also be in JSON format, and we need to convert it to like something that's readable for us. So the output is what's going to be sent finally to the or at the end to the user. And we're going to do response.json, which will basically it will turn the server's JSON message into a Python dictionary. And then we're going to print the answer of the chatbot. So you're going to start by chatbot when it's like the conversation, showing that here the chatbot is the one talking basically. And we want to print only the first item's message.content because this is the assistance text that we want. So basically the API, so this is the object that was returned and converted to a Python dictionary. And the API, the chat APIs that return a choices list. So we have a list and which contains choices, and we're only going to take the first item's message.content. So the first element is the element that has index 0, and then we're going to take its message.content. So message, and then content. And yeah, that's basically it. So here, and we're going to review everything really quick. So first of all, we imported request. Request is the library that is used that will communicate with the web or AI service. We sent a welcome message. We sent some instructions. Here, we took the API key from the user, and we mentioned or we set what the model or the AI brain we're going to use, which is Mistral Tiny. Here we started with a while loop, meaning that this whole code will keep running forever unless this condition here occurs. So first of all, we start by taking the input from the user and storing it into question. We check if this input is exit, if the user inputted exit. If he inputted exit, it means that he wants or he doesn't want the code to run anymore. So simply we're going to break the loop, we're going to terminate the code. If it isn't the case, then the program will just proceed with everything here. So we'll start by creating the data and the headers for our HTTP request message. And so the data is a dictionary which has two keys, model and messages. Model simply, it says which model or which AI brain we're going to be using, which in this case, we set earlier at the beginning. So it's stored in this variable. So I simply put the variable here. So what we're saying in this line is basically the value of this key is this variable, is what we set here. And the second key is messages. Messages are a bunch of message objects. It means what are the messages that you're going to be sending to the AI, the brain that's going to formulate the response. So you're going to send him two things. First of all, you're going to send him his role. You're going to send him like as an AI chatbot. This is how you should behave. This is what you should you're allowed to say this is what you cannot answer, etc. So here we're telling the chatbot or we're telling the AI service, this is the role that you're gonna have. So you'll be a friendly cultural assistant, meaning that he will be he'll be able to give you or to give the user answers and everything that's related to culture, history, traditions, festivals, etc. But it will not be able to give you insights on other things, like, for example, mathematics or chemistry or etc. And the second message that you're going to send him or you're going to send the AI service is the user's question itself. So at first you tell the AI how it should react, how it should behave, and then you send them the question that was sent by the user. Now, here we're saying what the headers of the HTTP request should be. and they have two keys, authorization and content type. So authorization, it just sends the API key of the user, which shows if the user is authenticated or not, and etc. And I explained why we put F here before putting the I don't know what they're called, I'm sorry. And then we have the content type, which is application JSON. It just means that JSON is the format that we're going to be using, and that the web server has to like this is how we send and receive our response. And here we sent the HTTP post request. We precised the URL to which we want it to be sent, what's the header of the message, and what's the body of the message. And when you send a post request, you get a reply. So we stored this reply in the response variable. Now, the problem is this response variable is also in JSON format. We don't want it in JSON format. We want it in a format that's readable for an average user who's not very well advanced in JSON, etc. So we just used response.json to convert it into a Python dictionary, which is readable to us, and we stored it in a variable called output. Now, most APIs will return choices, which we will select from. And so we'll take the first element of these choices, and we're going to take the content of the message of this first item. And this will be the answer that we're going to send to the user. So now that we're done with the code, we're going to run it and uh, see if how the code will react in different cases. So we're gonna start by an example. So I just ran my code. This is what appears at first. The welcome message, followed by the instructions, followed by the program asking me to enter my API key. So you saw in a previous session how to extract your API key. I'm just gonna paste it. And here he's basically I can ask whatever question I want. So I'm gonna ask, for example, what happened in politically in 1973 in the Gulf. Okay. And we're gonna get a bunch of answers. Now, what happens if I ask, for instance, a proof? Like prove that not all Turing machines are recognizable. Exactly. So what you get is a proof. But we just said that we wanted to be just focused on culture, not on proofs, etc. So this is why this message here is very important, because this message is what sets the behavior of your chatbot, how it will behave, the answers it will give, etc. So here you weren't precise enough. So you have to be more precise in the content of this message, because this is what will dictate the chatbot and what behavior to have and what answers to give or not to give. So for instance, I'm going to add, do not perform math, physics, CS, engineering, of okay, of engineering, statistic, proof, calculations, or code. And I'm going to tell him how to act if this happens. So if asked, politely refuse in one sentence. And instead of giving the proof or the explanation or whatever, he's going to offer a cultural context. So, and offer a cultural context instead. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna run the code again, enter the API key again, and we'll see how it goes, or how it will work now. So let's run the code. I'm gonna enter my key again. And now after modifying this message, I'm gonna try asking the same thing or the same instruction again, which is prove that not all Turing machines are recognizable. Okay, so here I'm unable to perform mathematical proofs, but I can shed some lights on the concept. So the chatbot is behaving as we expect him to, and he's um, abiding by this message that we sent him. He's behaving as a cultural assistant, not providing mathematical proofs or anything related to physical theories. Um, So that's it for today. I hope that everything's all clear for you and that you didn't find the session too difficult or complicated. I tried to simplify the explanation as much as possible, simplify the code as much as possible. And I truly hope that you enjoy um, Texttour this year, that you enjoy learning how these chatbots that we use are made. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, guys.